teaching experience 2, which we call 301, will start from the 17th of August to the 12th of October. Now, this teaching experience, I'm not doing leeway with, well, I don't think any of you will be able to start early, but we're not doing leeway with early or late. We're doing it within that block because of the time frame that we have for the exam boards, okay? You will need 14 hours a week this time. All timetables must be approved and uploaded before you start. If you do it after you start, those weeks don't count, okay? I have to approve it for your teaching experience to start. Some of you, if you're working in primary or even in secondary, may want to change the year group that you are working with if you are in a placement school. And I would really encourage you to do this, because having experience of different age groups is really, really good. Having experience of teaching different subjects is really, really good. And it goes in on your certificate of what you've taught. So the more subjects you teach, the more flexibility you have. And yeah, 1st of September is a fine start as well, because it's a 6 weeks block. You're going to be finished just by October the 12th, okay? Right. Like this teaching experience, you will be required to upload a video, okay? Now, this video, I actually will put a lot more, there's a lot more content that I have to fill in. It's not like the first one, okay? And that needs to be submitted by week 3 to week 4 of your teaching experience. You will get the feedback at the Dialogic like we've done this time. You will also have a midpoint planning and impact review, very similar to the planning review that you had this time. And that will occur at the end of week 3 of your teaching experience. Okay, so very similar to this one, we've got these deadlines. You have to have done all of those things to pass the course, okay? There is no not doing them. You will again have 2 sets of contextualization tasks. Now, I've not gone through them because I don't know what they are, because they've changed it all this year. But you will have one during, or you may have one before and one during, okay? Again, we've changed the Dialogic this year, and I don't know about you guys, but I think it's much more successful having you present to me about your teaching experience. And I've really learned a lot about you guys, and it's been really nice to hear you present and see what you've been doing. So I'm a big fan of the new Dialogic. I know it takes a little bit more time for you to prepare a presentation, but actually it's that reflective practice where we're thinking about where we're going and what we've done and how we can improve. And by presenting your journey through the 6 weeks teaching experience to me, you are actively thinking that through. And that brings me back again to the weekly uploads. They are reflective, and we are driving the next week's planning from being reflective about what we're doing in the moment. So this is why it's so important to keep uploading. So we're driving the circle, okay? This next term is all about reflection. And that's because your action research is a reflective piece of work, okay? So EPDM 97 is the action research, all right? Now, it's your second module unit, and it builds upon everything you've learned for the case study. Okay, so everything you've done for the case study in terms of methodologies and stuff like that, it's kind of similar for the action research. But where the case study was about an intervention, the action research is about you, okay? And this is where the reflection comes in. You are focusing on an element of your teaching that you want to change. Okay, so something that happened or has not happened in your teaching experience that you've just had, that you think, I need to improve this. It's all about you. And this is why I'm saying use the break, use the dialogic that we're going to have or we've had to think about the areas that you want to change. Okay, Ambika, I will come to that in 1 minute. So it's for you to improve your teaching. So you need to find and think about one area of your professional practice or knowledge base that you want to improve or upskill. Now, I'm saying knowledge base. So for example, if you feel like you've had students who maybe had autism or some sort of learning difficulty that you didn't really teach to, that you failed to touch with your teaching, maybe that's something that you want to improve. But more likely, it's going to be one of those areas that lots of people find pretty difficult, like discipline or adaptive teaching or higher ability, something like that. And most action researchers tend to take those kind of pathways. So think to yourself, when I was thinking about what targets I want in my dialogic, did I pick? Did I pick that I wanted to continue tweaking behavior management? Because if that's something that's a real issue for you, that should be the focus of your action research. Okay. Now, the action research cycle starts with a problem. So it needs to be an area of your teaching that is problematic, that is not achieving what it should do. And we all have them. Okay. And this is where reflection is so important. Now, the process of the action research is that you identify a problem. So, for example, I am going to say my behavior management is not good. Okay, I struggle with maintaining discipline throughout the lesson. Okay, that is the problem. That is what I need to improve because bad behavior in the classroom is impacting on students' ability to learn. Okay, that's my problem. Now, what I'm going to do is start reading the literature about strategies to improve behavior management. Okay, and there's loads of people, Sue Cowley amongst one, who give you tips on what to do for behavior management. I'm also going to be looking at stuff like, oh, hang on a minute, maybe I should make my lessons more interactive because when kids are bored, they lose concentration and their behavior diminishes. Okay, so I'm going to be reading all around that, lots of different strategies that I can implement. And then I go into the classroom and I'm going to implement a strategy. Okay, so we've got 6 weeks. Each strategy should take 2 weeks to implement. May not be in reality, but that's the ideal. So like maybe the first week, I'm going to reduce teacher talk time. I'm not going to stand up and just lecture my students from the front. I'm going to start the lesson with a question that they're going to do in pairs, and they're immediately hooked into their learning, working collaboratively. That's the strategy I'm going to do in week 1 and week 2. And I'm going to measure the outcomes of that strategy. And then I'm going to review the results and see whether it was successful or whether it wasn't. If it was successful, how can I improve it? If it wasn't successful, what should I do next? And on those results, I'm going to decide what to do for my next strategy. And for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to implement another strategy. So maybe this strategy would be awarding some sort of motivational award system, so class dojo or something like that, so they get points for good behavior. Similarly, I'm going to run it for maybe 2 weeks. I'm going to measure the results. I'm going to weigh up what happened, and I'm going to implement a third strategy, again, to bring something new to the mix. So you are doing these cycles of research, and that is why it's called action research, because you are doing it and you are measuring it and you are changing. Okay, so that's the process. So pick an area that A, has enough literature for you to garner the strategies, and B, that is impactful for your own development. Now, you need to read widely on different aspects of strategies around your area. You're only planning the first strategy, because the subsequent ones come as a result of your data that you've collected to see what was successful and what wasn't. Okay, you're not pre-deciding 3 threads that you're going to do. You have to have them built into the results. Okay, Ambika.
Yeah, Sam, okay, you said one topic, like, and I was thinking, like, I want to work on 2, 3 topics, or maybe
No,
2.
no,
No, okay.
no. You have to measure this, okay? It literally, it's participant research. So you're going to be teaching a class and you're going to be collecting the results that you're looking for while teaching your class. It is really difficult, okay? And that's one of the downsides with action research, is that you are a participant observer, you are a participant researcher, you are literally juggling all the balls at the same time. You're not able to do more than one topic, okay? You've got to keep it streamlined, because you won't be able to collect the data to measure any more than one, okay? And for this particular action research, it's the data collection that is tricky, okay? So you will have to do the proposal, okay? Now, I have not put the proposal format on because it's not released yet and they may have changed it. But the proposal deadline is the 27th of July. So you need to be thinking about this through the break, okay? And we will go back through it when we return, but we won't have a huge amount of time to really start from the very beginning. Now, this is the action research cycle, and we go round and round. We observe, we plan, we act, we reflect, okay? So the first thing you need to do is define the problem you are going to address. One problem, okay? I would suggest you do it for one class. Do not try and do multiple classes, otherwise your brain may explode. Formulate a research question. Think of strategies that you can implement to help solve this problem. Use data collection methods to see if the strategy has made meaningful change. Does it work? Yes, no. Reflect and plan the next cycle, and so on. And most of you will find that you won't come to a clear conclusion at the end of 3 cycles, that this is something that you will keep adjusting through your own professional development. And that's what we want, okay? You should be continually reflecting and improving your own practice. So it has to be different to your MO1 case study. If you did EAL for your MO1, you cannot look at English as an additional language for your action research. It has to be a different topic, okay? It is about you, so pick something that interests you. Do not deviate from you. Do not tell me about school policies or anything else. I am only looking at you. I'm not really interested even in the students. I'm interested in what you're doing. So don't lose that focus. Remember, for the case study, the focus was the intervention. Now it's you. Now, when you're doing data collection, you are allowed to collect information from students in the form of something like exit tickets or surveys. You cannot interview them, obviously. You cannot contact parents. Many people do assessment as their action research. Lots of people do behavior management. lots of people do adaptation, but these 3 fields are very big areas. So make sure you have a plan and you have a strategy to deal with such a large amount of literature. Now, you are going to be asked to justify why you've picked the area that you've picked. So you need to think about things that your mentor or that I have picked up, or your PPT if you're in Hong Kong, okay? Areas that they've said, this needs improving, or try working on this. That's the sort of thing you want to do because you're going to evidence it with proof from your teaching experience 1. You will need to look into the different forms of action research. There are many different forms of action research, and you will need to select one for the proposal, okay? You can change it. They're all fairly similar. They're just little tweaks here and there. But let me move on. You must have a look at these texts. Okay, so Bell, doing your research project. Cohen, research methods in education. McAteer, action research and education. McNiff, you and your action research project. And Mertler, action research, improving schools and empowering educators. So that's some really nice holiday reading for you to wade through, okay? But it will give you more of an idea of what action research is in education and why we use it. And then you can have a thought about what focus you're going to use. And that really should kind of feed your proposal quite well for July when it's due, okay? And then we can have a more detailed look at the action research. But what I'm saying to you is this project probably takes twice the amount of time that your case study did, okay? Because with the case study, you were just watching someone else doing it and taking notes. But this time you're doing it. You're going to have to get your mentor on board to observe some lessons. You're going to have to think around bias and all of those issues. It's a lot, okay? So do not underestimate how much pre-prep the action research actually means. And when I say we're on a tight crunch, it's because we have this, okay? We have the teaching practice. We have the contextualization tasks, which are much bigger than this time. There's much more to do and to present. So it's like TE1, but on steroids, okay? It's bigger, it's badder, but people rise to the challenge. Okay, they find it easier because they're more confident with planning and all those areas that took you guys a while to get into the stride of. Okay, so that is next term. Any questions? Ambika.
Sorry. Yeah. Can we let you know the topic before the summer break, and you could tell if it is in line with the feedback that you have given, or?
I'd rather you actually kind of took the summer break to really ponder it rather than try and get something to me in the next 2 days. I'd rather you actually kind of looked at the literature around action research and got a better understanding of what's required. And then think, because we do have a couple of weeks before it's due, and these proposals don't take that long to write up. So I'd rather come back the first session and have like a free-for-all. What action research are we going to do? Because some of you will have the same areas, obviously. But I think take your time. Don't rush this. All right. Just really, you know, think, and also have a look on the library and see how much literature it is out on this. Right.
Okay. Thank you. And like, I know what you're saying is like, like we don't have to focus on 2 topics, but like I think like if I'm doing adaptive teaching well, then it also reduces it also like links with behavior management, the disruption in the class is managed if adaptation is managed.
It does, but what you'll find is that you have, how can I explain this? The change that you implement will have
Mm-hmm.
knock-on effects outside of the area that you are focusing. So
Okay.
for example, if I chose to reduce teacher talk time, if that was my
Mm-hmm.
thing, I would find that behavior probably improves, that children concentrate more, they're more enthusiastic. They're knock-on effects, but they're not the sole result that I want. So you focus on the sort of the simple causation, solution problem. And then in your discussion or your
Okay.
conclusion, you would also say, as a result of me doing this, there was also a remarkable change in this, rather than having it as a dual focus. You'll get, believe me, you'll get into it and you'll be like, oh my days, how did I think I could do 3 things? All right.
Yeah.
People are like, oh my God, I can't even do 3 action research cycles, let alone 3 different topics. It is a lot in the moment. Okay, so
All right.
make it
Fair,
easy
fair.
on yourself. The other thing, of course, is, I had a couple. So, like, my ones who have almost failed, well, I've had failures on this and I've had almost fails. My almost failed this year, which I gave a very generous 40% to, but quite frankly, possibly it shouldn't have been, but it was moderated and they agreed. He used like a lunchtime club as an argument that this was improving confidence levels.
Mm.
It's just not enough. It's got to
Mm.
be really that kind of academia. And another
Mm.
one I had, he failed because he was talking about um, streaming and then got carried away and told me all about the school's assessment policy. And it's like, and I think sometimes if you go too loose,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
just, yeah. You can.
Understood.
I'm telling you with my hands what's happening, but
Yeah, yeah. No,
keep it
no, I
tight.
agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay,
There you
understood.
go.
Maybe when I read more, I would, because anyway, I didn't know about action research, but these were my areas of planning that I was planning to read through the summer break, that around adaptive teaching and behavior management. So yeah.
Well, have a look at both and
Okay.
see which one you prefer.
Okay.
Which one has more strategies that you could actually implement? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then decide when we come back. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let me read through it then. Thank you.
Pros and cons for each one, and then you can pick which one you like. But the thing is with this, and you know what? I mean, I know it's a lot of work, but pretty much every single student that I talked to about this research project says it was by far the most useful thing that they have done through this whole year. And actually, it's something that they will continue to do with aspects of their teaching from now on. So it's really good practice. So while you may concentrate on behavior, there's nothing to stop you after the course. I mean, you've still got the library, you've still got everything, focusing on a different area and just having it as professional development. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
Rita.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, in terms of figuring out sort of what we're going to do by the 27th, because obviously we won't be in the school and I don't know the kind of mix of students. So like, for example, one of my ideas when we were talking about it yesterday in the lecture, I was actually thinking of one of my strengths and how I can make it better. And I think that would apply to no matter what mix the students were. But now that I'm thinking about, okay, what is an area of an issue that would help me learn more and be better at. I was thinking it'd be sort of looking at how to better adapt and be more attentive to the EAL beginners, like not necessarily the kids that kind of can cope, but the ones that actually really sit there in class and don't understand. How can I better help them? But then I don't actually know if I'm going to have any of those students in that class.
Which is why, rather than look at it as who can I help, it's what can I improve about what I do? So the students that you have, it doesn't matter because you're focusing on an area that you improve. So if you were to do that, you would then need to use Ambika's adaptation, adaptive teaching. So you would then look at how can I improve the way I adapt resources for the very low, for the very high, and then you've got an idea, and then it doesn't matter who the target audience are because you've got that generalized thing. So don't choose it because of the students, choose it because of you. And I wouldn't go for a strength that needs strength and could be strengthened more. I'd go for something that you literally think, I'm out of my depth here. Am I thinking it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is tempting, you know, I this is what it's something I mean, we all have things that we're not so great on, okay? You know, a lot of you're all strong teachers, but adaptive resources is something that pretty much everybody could improve on. So if you really feel that your discipline's okay and everything else is okay, then that's a good one to focus on because it really is. And the other one, the course that always can be improved is assessment. Like, how meaningful is your assessment in the classroom? Are you relying on thumbs up, thumbs down and whiteboards? Is this really telling you much about your students' understanding? Is it really informing your planning? Those sorts of issues. Really dig deep into you, okay? So that is your break work. A little bit of thinking, a little bit of reading. And yeah, try and get the area sorted because now this is a slightly different. If you are in primary and you are seeing a class multiple times a week, obviously your cycles could feasibly be 1 week long because you can enact meaningful change in 1 week. I would be wary because it does take kids a while to get used to that change in order to see whether it's meaningful, okay, which is why I say 2 weeks. If you are secondary, you're not necessarily going to see the kids so much. So you've really got to have this strategy sorted so that in week 1, halfway through week 1, you have started implementing your first cycle. What I would suggest you do, while it's still fresh in your mind, when you've chosen the area you want to focus on, you jot down some notes of what it was like last teaching experience so that you have a cycle 0, all right? Because you won't have time to have a cycle 0 with new classes next teaching experience. So for example, if I did pick behavior management, my cycle 0 would be based in my teaching experience 1, where I found it hard to keep the attention of students all lessons, where I allowed them to chat while I was talking, those sorts of problems. Write it down now. It doesn't matter if it was with a different class because you're the focus, all right? So what is it that was problematic about what you've just had in TE1? That is your cycle 0, and then you're implementing change based on that experience. I think that is the best time management way of doing it, because if you go into a new school, I mean, for those of you who are teaching full time, it's a slightly different scenario. But if you go into a new school, you spend 2 weeks getting to know your new classes to get a cycle 0. You're then implementing your first cycle in week 3. You've only got like a few weeks to get all of this done. And I feel some of you may find that the data you collect is not enough. So you have to extend the cycle to get more data. And whilst we do allow people to sometimes explain why they've only done 2 cycles, actually, it's much better if you get 3. Okay? Any other questions? Right. I will let you go. Have a nice break. And Rita looks like she's going to have a nervous breakdown, but you're not very well. So have a nice break. Be kind to yourself. If I haven't seen you for a dialogic, I need to see you for a dialogic this week. Stefan.
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Could we discuss the dialogue? Could we get a time now for, or can it just, we don't have to email back and forth to get a time set for the dialogic? When would fit you?
When is my diary free? Let me have a look. I've written so much over my diary. Feasibly, I could do, sorry, everybody else, 12:30 on Thursday, UK time.
And I need to quickly convert, what's that, 7:30 Hong Kong time. Yeah, I think that should be fine. I must just check my schedule. I usually work until like 8.
Sorry,
So, but it would be fine. Yeah.
I can make it later. I can make it 1 p.m. UK time.
Yeah, anytime after like in the evening here would be okay. So
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you. Okay, I'll put you in there and I'll send it through, and you can say yay or nay. Okay.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
All right, guys. If I don't see you again this week, I'll see you after the break. Enjoy, and we'll speak soon. All right. Bye-bye.